Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
This is how the left now thinks, which is anything that they don't like is an attack on our democracy, and anything that they do in pursuit of their power is democracy. It is so simplistic and almost childish and very silly, but it's also scary because I think you will see another big push for this. If old guard, old school Dems like Carville are now saying let's add states and let's pack the Supreme Court, that is a worrisome turning point in the Democratic Party. And I would simply just ask this question. The Republicans have the trifecta right now. He's saying, well, if we get it back in 28, okay, the Republicans have it right now. If they were to move to create East and West Oklahoma, and let's say North and South Alabama, a couple new states, and let's add 5 new Supreme Court seats and let Donald Trump fill all of them, would that be greeted as a safeguarding of democracy by these exact same people, or would their hair be on fire? I would argue quite rightly that this is way too far. We all know the answer.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and three very interesting things happening. Probably 4. First of all, they voted yesterday, and again, Democrats voted against cloture and did not allow the government to open back up. This is all in the Democrats' hands, and the polling is showing it. And we're going to get some audio about that a little bit later on in the program. But here's the thing that's happening that I think is interesting. 2 major unions. Unions are always identified with Democrats, okay? So the Government Employees Union, which is over 1 million people, and the Air Traffic Controllers Union have come out and said, hey, Democrats, vote for cloture and let the government open back up. That's 2 of their longtime folks. They're ignoring that. Since those 2 statements came out, they voted against invoking cloture, and now the government's not going to open up again. So this is Democrats taking steps to keep the government from being open, okay? The next thing is that there's this fight going on at HHS. Okay, Kristi Noem is the secretary of HHS. Corey Lewandowski is the longtime supporter of Donald Trump and is sort of like the Elon Musk figure at HHS. He is the former campaign manager. He's been in and out, but he is fighting for the power even though he's not the secretary. What's happening is they are replacing ICE people with Border Patrol leadership around the country. And here's what the fight is about. And it's something we've heard on this show before. Most of us that are Republicans, what we voted for in November was we wanted to get the bad guys out. That's what Tom Homan has been talking about. And by the way, Corey Lewandowski is working against Tom Homan. Tom Homan is a hero as far as I'm concerned. He is trying to do this the right way, and he is trying to get the bad guys out first. The head of Border Patrol wants to just get everybody out. He wants to have Home Depot raids. He wants to get the numbers up. All he cares about is the numbers. He doesn't care about the quality of people that are being deported. And what I mean by quality is the reverse definition of that, meaning that these are bad people that have all the things that we've talked about that we think are the right thing, meaning they have warrants against them, they've committed crimes, they're here illegally, they've already got deportation orders, all of that. So there's a fight going on behind the scenes, and it's undermining Kristi Noem, and it's undermining Tom Homan, and I'm not going to be silent about it. You know, I am a Republican and a conservative, but this is wrong what's going on there. And they need to let Tom Homan and Kristi Noem do what they've been doing, even though the numbers may not be as high as what everybody, quote, hoped they would be. You're getting the criminal element out, and that is a good and positive thing. So that's the other thing that's going on that's kind of under the radar. Locally, what's happening is early voting. We need to get early voting out there. We need to get folks to the polls. You can do that until Friday, and then Election Day is on Tuesday. I got to remind my husband to go to the polls today or tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to do that when I get on the break. So that's a big thing that's happening too. And early voting has started in New York, where you have a huge turnout. But also the drip, drip, drip against Zoran Mamdani is they're finding out a lot of these other things that he said. And people don't like him. So it's getting tighter. The race is now 5 points. It was 20, then it went to 10, now it's 5. This is not a done deal. And I tell you what, it would be a huge thing if Andrew Cuomo won, because the Democrats can't be mad about it, because Cuomo was a Democrat until a couple of months ago. And it would kind of save their bacon. You know, it really would. Now, we've got a couple of text messages that came in yesterday that I want to get to today. And the first one is from Alan in Rabun Gap. Good morning, Martha. I'm wondering if this title loan topic, our state legislature would put an opt-out option for the title lender, like the legislator did for schools in HB 581. The opt-out was totally ridiculous for school systems and a poke in the taxpayer's eye, but the legislator got political cover. Have a wonderful day. I don't know about that, but I'll pass it along. And then Linda said, I have heard at least 4 times people saying that Americans are thinking by voting a socialist Muslim for mayor. I think it was a lot to do with New York City being 60% foreign-born immigrants and less than 40% being American citizens. This country is not being careful enough about who they have let come in this country over the last 20 years. You know, I got to check those numbers, Linda, but there are a lot of immigrants in New York City, as there have always been. If you look at from the beginning of time with New York City, it's always been a place that people came first. My grandmother came first. But you can't vote unless you're a citizen in this race. So even if it were 80% illegal immigrant, those 80% couldn't vote. So it is interesting to watch, but I do think that we do need to be careful. We ought to fix, now that the border is secure, we ought to fix legal immigration. And my view on that is you reduce the overall number of green cards from about 1.1 million to 700,000. You take that 400,000 gap in green cards that you were issuing, and you use that to clear the backlog of the people that have been waiting, that have done it the right way, that are, instead of waiting 2 years, they've waited 7, 8, 9, 10 years to become legal. So you take that it would probably take 5 or 10 years. You take that 400,000 and you clear the backlog of people that have been waiting. Then you institute a system that is merit-based. And some of those things are what country you come from, whether you speak English, whether you're here to start a business, whether you have a skill that we need. There's a list of about 14 things that are in the RAISE Act, which is what I support, that will put someone to the top of the line in order to get a visa to come into this country, or to get a work permit, or to get whatever type of legal immigration they're looking for. If you do those things, then we can get back on the path of getting the right kind of people. And what I mean by that is people we need for our economy, not people that just want to come here because they want to turn us upside down. There are too many people coming here that aren't coming here to be a part of America. They're coming here to overturn America. We'll be back.
Keeping you up to date with the latest news and weather. It's what we do every day.
It's the news I trust.
North Georgia's News Talk. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
It can be difficult when you hear multiple experts give totally opposite opinions on how you should handle your estate planning and elder needs. What's the real answer? This is Kevin Tharp, and I've had to face these issues head on with my own family, and I've made it my life's work. I'm not telling you to just listen to me. I'm just asking for the chance to be a part of your conversation. Log on to KevinTharpWithAnE.com. Let me help you make the hard decisions the right way.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen at a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and Plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
Hello, I'm Greg Beatles, president of your Atlanta Falcons and also proud supporter of Eagle Ranch. My family and the Falcons have been involved with the ranch for many years. Eagle Ranch has expanded its services to meet the increased needs in our community, to include outpatient counseling, a day school program, a residential program, and other therapeutic services that are both affordable and accessible. Learn more at eagleranch.org. That's eagleranch.org.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Let's go! This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a Flowery Branch woman charged by the GBI for allegedly concealing a dead body during the past weekend. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hearing from this union, as you said, Everett Kelly, you called him a good leader, hearing them effectively side with Republicans and the president, does that have an impact on you?
Of course it does. I felt strongly for this union. Everett's a friend and is doing a good job, but we also feel strongly for these families and the possibility that other Republican actions are going to be closing hospitals and clinics and nursing homes across this country. This is a crisis situation. We should resolve it as quickly as possible.
It does not change the strategy that Democrats have employed so far when it comes to this shutdown, stare down.
No, as a matter of fact, I think we can resolve this matter as soon as the president's willing to sit down with Republican leaders and Democratic leaders.
So that's Dick Durbin, and he's asked about the fact the big government union is not supporting Democrats anymore. They're saying, hey, Democrats, vote to end cloture, get the government open, and then go negotiate everything else. Because you said multiple times, policy differences are not the reason to shut down the government. So also we have the Air Traffic Controllers Union that is making a similar kind of statement.
Day in, day out, that's now the life of an air traffic controller. The people tasked with making the impossible possible are having it made impossible by not paying them again. So the message is simple. In the shutdown today, there is no excuse that these hardworking men and women are showing up to do this job and to not ever know when they're going to get paid again. So we need America's help. We need you to stand up, and we need you to say enough is enough in this shutdown and ensure that we can move this forward, because we do not want to be up here telling you the sad stories. We want to be up here telling you how we're moving this system forward, how we're bringing in more air traffic controllers than ever, how we're modernizing this system to, serve the American people. So, again, you cannot stress enough. If you want to take action, contact your congressional representative and tell them in the shutdown today.
So that's two unions. Usually unions are on the side of Democrats. Now, Harry Enton, who's the pollster for CNN, has said that unlike other shutdowns where Republicans generally get blamed, it's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. Here's what's happening in this shutdown.
It hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give an electorally speaking when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye on. All right, change in the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents, it's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
And Democrats.
So it's you've got this stuff, this drip, drip, drip. No analogy to the fact it's raining outside and it's going to get pretty bad later, so y'all be careful. But even on C-SPAN, which has this call-in show in the morning, this morning, they do it where you have a Democrat line, a Republican line, and an independent line, I think is how they do it. They definitely split it out so that they try to mix up the phone calls. This guy calls in and he says, look, I have a problem with my party. I'm not going to change my party, but I'm just not going to vote for another Democrat if they don't get their act together. This is happening all across. Now, we have our own problems. I laid them out in what the problem was related to Department of Homeland Security. And we gotta not let that get out in the open. We gotta solve it because Tom Homan is doing his job. He's got a job to do. He's right about how he's doing the job. And he doesn't need interference from Border Patrol. Let them do their job on the border. I know they're really bored right now because, there's nobody coming across the border. But we've got to make sure that look, I'm not the biggest Kristi Noem fan in the world, but she is the secretary. She should be making the final decisions and win or lose based on those decisions. And you shouldn't have somebody like a Corey Lewandowski come in and try to play fruit basket turnover and take over. Just not okay. Just not okay. Let's go to the phones now and talk to Mike in Gainesville. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey.
Good morning.
All I wanted to say is that I want our senators, Ossoff and Warnock, to try to get legislation so that the senators don't get paid as long as anybody else doesn't get paid.
Amen to that.
That's all I have to say.
Amen to that. They should not be getting paid when nobody else is. And that's just not acceptable. You're absolutely right, Mike. I think it would make a big difference if they didn't. Thanks for your call today. And I would go farther than that. If they don't pass a budget on time, their pay should be suspended until the budget gets passed. If you don't do your job, you don't get paid. They ought to be contract workers. The biggest mistake we ever made in government, okay, is when we started making the people like bureaucrats, meaning they got pension plans, they got thrift incentive plans, they've got healthcare insurance. When this became their main job to the exclusion of all others, this country started going down. So let's go back to the phone and talk to Otis in East Hall. Hey, Otis, how you doing?
All right. How's it going?
Good. Great to hear from you. I was thinking about you this morning.
Well, I'm listening to y'all. Y'all not talking about the real problem. You're not talking. You're putting all the blame on Democrats when Democrats fighting for health care. Martha, you're not even mentioning that. Healthcare premiums are going up for everybody, and y'all not talking about that.
I actually I've talked about it every day.
No, you're not. You're blaming Democrats.
The Democrats have to come to the table and talk about policy.
No, they don't.
Okay.
When MAGA Republicans holding the House, MAGA Republicans holding the Senate, MAGA Republicans in the president, MAGA Republicans holding the Supreme Court, and
but they all voted yes.
The insurance is going to go up for everybody.
Otis.
Tell the truth to your Otis. Tell the truth to the Otis.
I will. Otis. They all voted yes to keep the government open and negotiate on the health care. The people that are voting no are the Democrats.
If the Democrats accept this and go back to work, everybody's premium going to go up. Tell the truth, Martha. Tell the truth to your audience.
All right. Thanks, Otis. Appreciate it very much. You know, it's. I get it. Otis has said no matter what, he's going to vote Democrat no matter what. He's told us that before, and that's okay. I'm not blaming the Democrats. I'm blaming the Democrats in swing states that won't vote with their voters, their constituents, that voted for Donald Trump. I'm not a MAGA Republican. There's a whole lot of people that aren't MAGA Republicans. Okay, but we do want the things to happen in the right way. And Chuck Schumer said you shouldn't shut the government down because you have a policy disagreement. He said that 6 months ago, but he's changed his mind. Why has he changed his mind? Because he listens to people like Otis and people far left progressives and people out there instead of mainstream Democrats. Mainstream Democrats and independents. They've lost, what I'm saying is the truth, Otis. They've lost 2 unions that are saying they're doing the wrong thing. I know you're a union member. I bet your union's going to come out pretty soon and say something too. But anyway, I hear what you're saying, Otis. I don't want the premiums to go up either. I think what you ought to do is ask Democrats why they put that time limit. If they thought these premiums, having subsidies was so important, when they passed it, they should have passed it to be permanent instead of with a time limit on it. That's what Republicans just did on the tax credits. They believed it should be permanent and not just have a time limit on it, and they got the votes and they passed it. You got to work together, Otis. You got to work together. We'll be back.
Check your pockets and you'll find a quarter ready to inspire you to visit the state you find on the back. It's America the Great on a podcast called Quarter Miles Travel, from Virginia's historic sites to the wide open plains of Montana, the low country rhythms of coastal Georgia to the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. Explore America based on the U.S. Mid-State Quarters. Hi, it's Anita with Travel with Anita and Friends. Quarter Miles Travel is all about pride in our states and our country. The natural beauty, the history, landmarks, and interesting people all make our country an exceptional place to visit. Go to my website, travelwithanita.com, where you will hear the podcast with stories told by historians and people who know the little-known facts. So come along, let's go on an adventure. Reach in your pocket and pull out that quarter. Flip it over, and Quarter Miles Travel will take it from there. We'll help you turn that quarter into an adventure.
Hi folks, Matt Hayes here from Hayes of Baldwin. If you're in the market for a new car, truck, or SUV, take a short drive and come see what North Georgia has to offer. We have 8 brands in one location, a great selection of pre-owned and manufacturer certified pre-owned vehicles. But that's not all. With 2 large service departments to take care of all your automotive needs, from maintenance, repairs, or just tires and checkups. Hayes offers friendly staff and excellent customer service. With over 50 years of a family-owned and operated business in North Georgia, come see what Hayes has to offer you. Hayes of Baldwin, just 3 miles north of Hall County on Highway 365.
Want the latest rumor? Check social media.
Social media plays a big role in today's society.
Want to know if it's true? Log on to accesswdun.com. We focus on the facts and leave the fiction to the others.
It's trustworthy and reliable.
Online news powered by North Georgia's News Talk. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. The third and final stop on his trip to Asia for President Trump. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson traveling with the president.
A new trade deal with South Korea. This has been in the works since South Korean President Lee visited the White House over the summer.
And President Trump arrived in South Korea with all the pomp the country can muster. Trump was presented a crown, South Korea's highest award, Trump becoming the first American to receive it.
President meets tomorrow with his Chinese counterpart.
We're meeting right here, and we're all looking forward to that. I think it's going to work out very, very well for everybody.
The leaders will discuss tariffs and trade, as well as stopping the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. The worst of Hurricane Melissa is over for Jamaica, but the storm devastated the island. Now it's battering Cuba. A Category 2 hurricane winds 105 miles per hour up next, the Bahamas. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and a Flowery Branch woman is arrested for concealing a death from over the weekend. WDUN's Hamilton Keener reports.
Hall County jail records indicate that 36-year-old Jessica Maria Motes was arrested and booked into the jail late Sunday night. That same night, GBI officials confirmed that they had been called to aid in a death investigation. The investigation involved agents searching at a home on Couch Road off of GC Crow Road in Flowery Branch late Sunday evening. Motes remains in the jail without bond as of last report.
Hall County Sheriff's Office arrested a Sugar Hill man following a domestic dispute on the 1000 block of Cooley Drive Sunday morning after 2 a.m. Agency spokesman Derek Booth says deputies arrived after the suspect had fled.
During their investigation, they determined that 36-year-old Yo Han Choi had yelled and banged on the front door of that victim's home several times with the buttstock of a rifle, and then he left in a car.
Choi was later located in Flowery Branch in his vehicle and arrested by local authorities and then released in the Hall County Jail on bond Tuesday morning. And prominent retired basketball star Shaquille O'Neal's vehicle was stolen after being in transit from a fabrication shop in Lumpkin County. Sheriff's office there says that they are searching for details behind the Range Rover. Anyone with leads is asked to contact Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office. More details at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN forecast.
North Georgia, on and off rain, heavy rain possible. Highs around 50 degrees this afternoon with up to a half inch of rain possible. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Beaufort, 48 degrees. In Clarksville and Gainesville, 46. From North Georgia's News Talk AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hey, Georgia, are you ready for a pop quiz? No, really. It's an easy one. What's the best way to win money? Huh? How about instantly? Because right now you could instantly win $25 just for playing Cash Pop in store. Now through November 23rd, 2,000 winners a week will instantly win $25 just for playing. Just look for the prize alert on your ticket and listen for this sound.
You're a winner!
That means you won $25. So hey, let's get poppin'. It all ends November 23rd, so hurry and play Cash Pop from the Georgia Lottery. Please play responsibly. Always check and sign your ticket.
Looking for the perfect gifts to give someone this holiday season? Why not give them the gift everyone wants to get? Holiday scratchers from the Georgia Lottery. They're easy to give, fun to play, and really fun to win. So stop by your favorite retailer and pick up a holiday scratcher today.
Tune in to WSB Channel 2 for your official Georgia Lottery drawing and check out the Players Club at galottery.com.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
There's an old saying, everybody has freedom of choice, but nobody has freedom of consequence. There's always consequences to our actions, but I'm putting a caveat in today, unless you're a member of Congress. Hear me out. 28 days we're in this government shutdown, and yes, it's ridiculous that we can't find 7 or 8 senators from the Democratic Party, including John Ossoff, to go against their party's wishes and do what's right for the people of Georgia and the people of America. You know, it's Congress's number one job to fund the government. That's your number one job every year.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and that's Derek Dooley doing one of the little vignettes he's doing from his truck, which I think are being very effective. Polling on that race is, it's still a long way out, but it's very interesting how the gap has been closed by Derek Dooley. He's still trailing Mike Collins, but it's going to be a very interesting race. It's hard to unseat an incumbent senator, but you're at your most vulnerable at your first reelection. So it'll be very interesting to see how that happens. Joining me right now is Brendan Buck, who I've known for years, and really looking forward to talking with him because he's kind of inside the vortex in a way, but is looking at it from the outside. So Brendan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to be back together with you.
So tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think for most folks to know, well, one, I'm from Georgia, go Dogs.
Yes.
Martha and I first, I think, got to know each other when I was working for Tom Price back when he was a House member. But I went on to go on to work for John Boehner when he was Speaker of the House, and Paul Ryan when he was Speaker of the House. And today I'm out of government. I do some communications in the private sector. I do some we'll call it punditry on NBC News. I've got a column with the New York Times. So I keep great interest in what's going on in Congress, but I work a little bit adjacent to it these days.
So you went through a couple of shutdowns, right?
I did.
Okay.
All of the recent ones. Yeah.
Yes, and me too. When I was working for Senator Perdue, we had one under the Obama administration. And it seems to me this sticking point is the issues around the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. But also you've got a long history of Democrats saying and Republicans saying you shouldn't use policy issues as an argument to shut the government down. And I always give my listeners a little bit of history where, prior to Graham-Rudman, we had shutdowns all the time, but the idea was you were going to eventually fund the government. So if they didn't actually, quote, shut the government down, they just they automatically kept funding at current levels. Then Graham-Rudman came along, and it was a good idea because it was going to hold people more accountable. But what he created was this political weapon, which is called the government shutdown. So that's kind of where we are today. What do you think about where we are today and kind of what needs to be done?
Well, this has gone on a lot longer than I expected it to. I'll tell you that much.
Me too.
I was there in 2013 working for John Boehner when we had the shutdown over Obamacare at the time. I can tell you that 16, 17 days was really intense. And I think what has been most striking to me is just how this has not been very intense. Senators are kind of coming in, they're voting a couple times throughout the week, and they're going home for weekends. I mean, we didn't leave Washington for that entire stretch. And maybe it's just people have realized that government shutdowns don't have the political impact that they thought they might, or doesn't have the economic impact that they thought it might, or maybe it's just, both sides think they have a strong position and they're just going to ride it out. But nobody seems to feel like they're losing enough. But I guess I would argue nobody is winning either. Whatever strategy both sides thought that they were implementing here is not really paying off. They keep sort of pointing at these upcoming pain points, whether it's SNAP benefits or paychecks running out, or the healthcare deadline that I know we'll talk about. Or whatever it may be, and they keep thinking like the other side is then going to want to fold at that point, and nobody seems to be folding. I think at this point they probably need to start working on weekends. I think they probably need to start having more votes on the floor where members can be talking to each other and figuring out what the sort of path ahead is, because a lot of times these things come together sort of organically. Enough senators say, okay, I'm sick of this. Let's figure out a path ahead, and that doesn't seem to be enough pressure, and certainly not enough time in Washington for them to feel like they need to do that.
So let's talk about the healthcare thing first, and then I've got a couple of comments that have come in from listeners that they're really annoyed about, and maybe we can shed some light on it. The first thing, so this as I understand the background on this healthcare thing is there were subsidies that were given that were more related to COVID, and they had a time limit on them. And so this time limit is coming up. The president and the Republicans have said, yeah, we're willing to talk about this, but we want to keep the government open while we're doing it. Is that correct, or what would you add to that?
Sure. Yeah. There were some what we call enhanced subsidies that were put in place during the Biden era, and those are expiring this year. And Congress has just sort of woken up in the last few months to a realization that when those expire,
as usual, that's how they do it. Okay.
yeah, and when those expire, premiums in that marketplace, which is a huge population in Georgia and a huge population nationwide, are going to go up, and not just a little. They are going to go up a lot. And so whatever your view of the ACA is at this point and whether or not that should be reformed, and I'm happy to talk about that. A lot of Republicans are talking about that. The reality is that for the million-plus folks in Georgia who are now going to have their premiums more than double, that doesn't really do a whole lot for them. That just means they're paying a lot more money until you figure that out. So Congress has kind of come to this realization. Democrats have used this as the sort of primary thing they're talking about for the shutdown, but it's not just Democrats. You've had, I'm sure as you are well aware, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very outspoken about how Republicans were not very well prepared for this, don't have an answer for it, and there are a lot of Republicans, conservative Republicans, people like Tommy Tuberville and Josh Hawley, who have said we should probably extend this and figure out something down the road, because just having this cliff where people's premiums are going up hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month is probably not a very good idea, both substantively and also, let's be honest, politically going into an election year. Having healthcare costs skyrocket while you're in complete control of government is a liability. And I think that's something that they're talking about. I do want to say I am working on this issue in my sort of professional capacity, so know a lot about it. But I also, I've been through healthcare politics on the Republican side. It doesn't usually work out very well for us.
I think what concerns me as somebody, like I'm married to a primary care physician, and we run a little correctional nursing business. And what bothers me about the whole thing is that all these subsidies did was kind of paper over the fact that healthcare prices were going way up anyway. Okay, there's been nothing. More people are covered by the Affordable Care Act, but there has been nothing affordable about it. The cost has still gone up much more than every other sector of the economy. And you're right. We need to get to the table and actually work on this. And I think the core of this, and you were around when this happened, is ACA was the first bill of its size that had the kind of impact on, the economy, America, whatever you want to call it, that was an all one party vote. Prior to that, all the really big stuff we did, we always got bipartisan votes. And I think at the crux, at the foundation of the problems we have in being able to talk about this is that.
I don't disagree with that at all. And look, I don't think anybody would dispute, there's a lot of broken in our healthcare system, and it's not necessarily just in the ACA market. I mean, health costs are up everywhere. I guess in the short term, I don't know that the answer is just cutting people off and making the premiums go up. I mean, that's ultimately what we're talking about. Now, I was also around, I was there for the 2013 government shutdown where we were trying to defund and repeal Obamacare. I was also there in 2017 working for Paul Ryan when we actually went through this exercise, repeal and replace. And that was a bit of a disaster, I'll be honest, because we have, as Republicans, a lot of strong views on repeal. We don't have a lot of strong views on replace. And that's where we got caught up, and we paid a pretty heavy political price for that. Donald Trump's popularity took a huge hit at that time, and it was really the issue that Democrats rode to take back the House in 2018. Now, Republicans all of a sudden are now talking about reviving a repeal and replace strategy. Whether or not that's wise, I don't know. But I sure know it's not going to happen in the next 2 months when these tax credits expire. And so, if you're going to give Donald Trump room and time and space to reform the healthcare system, great, that's cool, but you probably shouldn't create a huge political and cost liability for yourself in the meantime.
No, I don't disagree. And what I'm hoping for is, because we have enough votes to open up the government. We've had enough votes to open up the government since September 30th. We just haven't had enough votes to get through the filibuster vote, the cloture vote. So that's one of the questions that our listeners had, is really, what is cloture? And I explain it just about every day, but I thought maybe you would like to explain it today.
Well, certainly, it's getting basically anything done in the Senate requires 60 votes, and that used to be a thing that the minority in the party or the minority in the Senate would use judiciously. When there were, decades ago, it was things would pass with a simple majority all the time, even though the minority had the chance to filibuster or something. They didn't, but in the
right, they
Harry
would vote
Reid era,
they would vote to let the vote go forward, which is what cloture is, even though they were going to ultimately vote no.
that's right. Because you have to get that 60-vote hurdle to get to the final vote. And then the final vote can just be a simple majority. But in the Harry Reid era, he really clamped down on this. And basically, at any time that Republicans were trying to do something, he would filibuster. And it is now common practice now that nothing passes the Senate without 60 votes. And that's what's going on here. I mean, and yes, there are the votes. I would caution, though. I'm a House guy. I'm not a Senate guy. But I think the filibuster has served us very well in terms of stopping the growth of government and when Democrats are in charge from just doing anything and everything they want to do. And I think that's John Thune.
Oh, no,
the lead
I
Senate
want to
leader's
keep it in
view.
place. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to keep it in place. I don't think it should go away. I think that we've got to eventually, I think the answer is not with Chuck Schumer, though. I think it's with negotiating with these senators that are in states that Trump won a year ago and try to get them back, get them to the table somehow and maybe create a working group that's going to work on some of these issues from these more moderate states.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come top down. I totally agree. I think there still remain a lot of senators who are frustrated. Like, being the job of a senator is not very fun right now because you just don't have any freedom to do anything. The committees aren't working. They're not coming up with their own working groups of bills and issues that they want to work on. The schedule is tight. We came and fund the government, this sort of short-term government funding bill aside, they don't have any plan on how we're going to fund the government long-term.
Right.
We may end up with what's called a continuing resolution again, where we're just still spending the same priorities that Joe Biden had a year and a half ago.
I think there's
and that's crazy.
there's a pretty good chance they could come up with some kind of compromise that's going to get a budget all the way to the end of the next year so they can get everybody through the next election. That tends to be what they do sometimes. The other question I got was that people are really angry about, that if you pull up the schedule for the Senate, yesterday, I haven't pulled it up for today. They had all kinds of committee hearings yesterday. They had all kinds of other things they were doing. They did vote in a couple of appointments, for that. But they took one vote on the government shutdown and maybe spent 15 minutes talking about it. That really angered a lot of people.
Yeah, John Thune has argued like he doesn't see any value in having votes on Fridays, having votes on weekends, doing anything real different. And I guess I would argue, as much as I love John Thune, I haven't seen a lot of evidence.
Every day they need to be doing it.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of evidence that what they're doing right now is working either.
Well,
I mean,
especially
this
since
well.
they're still drawing their salary. You heard Bernie Sanders last week when he was asked by whoever was replacing Joy Behar, and she said, well, don't you think you should do without your salary while the government shut down? He goes, well, there's young people that have kids and they need the money. And the woman who was filling in for Joy Behar, I'm sorry, I forgot her name, said, well, there's people going without their whole checks right now. So they do live in this world, this bubble of a world where everything goes on for them, even though other people are suffering.
Absolutely. And there are increasingly a lot of people for whom this is very problematic, but it has not been inconvenient enough, in my view, for the senators themselves.
Yes.
And I think you know this well. If you make this very inconvenient for them, if you make this stressful for them, they'll find a resolution. But when you fly in late on Monday night, you're in Washington for 2 days, and then by Wednesday you've announced that Thursday morning will be your last vote, and then you're home for another 3 or 4 days. Nobody's getting real stressed out. Nobody's made uncomfortable. Nobody's on the floor talking to their colleagues about what the path ahead is. They're going home. They're recharging. I think they probably would prefer to not be in the shutdown, but they're sure not acting like it. And so I think something needs to change, and I think it has to come through the Senate. I don't really have a problem with Mike Johnson keeping the House out because this is a Senate thing at the end of the day. But whatever you're doing isn't working. But I mean that for both sides. John Thune sort of just going through this isn't working. Chuck Schumer trying to get Donald Trump to bail him out isn't working. So we got to change something somewhere. And I think working weekends is a good place to start.
Absolutely. Brendan Buck, if people want to know more about your work, how can they do that?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter, or X, I guess they call it, just at Brendan Buck.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Appreciate it, Martha.
Thank you. We'll take a break.
In North Georgia,
It's the topics that matter to me.
we're your eyes and ears in the community with the latest breaking news.
It's the most important thing we face.
AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
This is Mike Martin from Milton Martin Toyota. A life of addiction leaves a path of destruction, not only for the individual, but for the family. No Longer Bound is a 10-month long-term addiction and recovery program for males age 18 and up that focuses on regenerating the person and rebuilding relationships. No Longer Bound has one of the highest success rates in the country because their focus is not only on eternal freedom from bondage of drug and alcohol, but from the hurt and pain that caused the addiction. Consider donating your car to No Longer Bound's Cars for Recovery. When you do, you're sowing a seed of hope into the lives of men on the road to recovery. Plus, your tax-deductible donation supplies transportation for those in need as well as funds for No Longer Bound's regeneration program. So call No Longer Bound today at 770-886-7873 or visit their website at nolongerbound.com.
Whether it's a slip that ends in a slip disc, a trick knee that's holding you back, or shoulder pain hurting your game, you can count on Northside Hospital Orthopedics. With leading care in Georgia at convenient locations all across the state, we're here to get you back on your feet, no matter what comes your way. Because Georgia moves us, and we keep Georgia moving. Find a provider near you at northside.com/ortho. That's northside.com/ORTHO.
There's nothing like cool, crisp air of fall in North Georgia after a hot, humid summer. Conditioned Air Systems is here to get your HVAC system ready for the changing seasons. With regular maintenance that saves you money on your energy bill, and look no further for quick, reliable plumbing repairs or installation services. Conditioned Air Systems has been a trusted name in Northeast Georgia for over 45 years. Call us today at 1-800-AC-REPAIR.
You've got meals to plan, children to ferry from practice to ball games, shopping and dusting, and good grief. Give yourself a break and take your laundry to Townview Coin Laundry. Take your comforters, quilts, blankets, and mattress covers. They'll wash, dry, and fold your laundry, or you can use their industrial-sized machines. Townview Coin Laundry saves wear and tear on your washer and dryer and on you too. Get the stains out at Townview Coin Laundry at the corner of Bradford Street and College Avenue in downtown Gainesville, open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Gainesville city officials will honor the late Danny Dunnigan prior to their relocated work session Thursday morning. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and there is a lot going on. I hope you'll get out to early vote. We want you to do that. Look, I encourage everybody to get out and vote. You can early vote until Friday, and then Election Day is Tuesday. We had a little audio that I wanted to play for you here. We're going to just start it, and then I'll stop it. But it has to do with this New York mayor's race. So let's start that.
A couple things about Tuesday's races. First, New York Times reports that the Democratic Senate gubernatorial candidates, Cheryl and Spanberger, are going to host a joint online event. I don't know. Is this to raise money?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
It's just a kind of a get out the vote event. This is tomorrow. They will appear together, hoping to generate Democratic campaign volunteers and voters, says the New York Times. That's interesting. And then in the New York City mayor's race, I'll just say this. The reason everybody says the race is over is because of polls. No one who's saying the race is over has access to private, turn out the vote data or early, there's not enough early vote yet. Like, it's all based on, and the betting markets, which are based on the polls. That's it. So if you assume that polls can be wrong, you shouldn't be saying the race is over necessarily. And stuff continues to happen. Yesterday, Mondami got caught in a lie that got a fair amount of attention. And here's the wood of the New York Post. 113. 1 week to save New York. Every vote counts to stop socialist takeover. Cuomo cuts Mondami's lead. There's a new public poll that shows the lead down to 10. And then there's the story about him allegedly lying about his aunt.
So that's about this New York race. Look, I don't think it's over till it's over. Nobody expected Glenn Youngkin to win 4 years ago in Virginia. Nobody expected other things to happen. I mean, in 2020, I think that when we all went to bed, we expected President Trump to win that race, and he did not. Okay, and I've explained millions of times why he did not, so I'm not going to do that again. But also the question that the listener had about cloture, and I hope we answered that question, but I just want to go over it one more time because I think it's really, really important. Cloture is a tool that the minority can use to hold up the vote in the Senate, and that's what they're doing with it right now. But typically over the past time, if there were enough votes to win, generally people from the minority party would vote with the majority to allow us to vote. The cloture rule protects the minority and makes sure that the majority doesn't just run roughshod. But we've gone like 4 weeks here, folks. So there are always 2 votes that have to happen when you get something passed in the United States Senate. Okay, you've got the vote for cloture, which gets you to the final vote, and then you've got the final vote that can be just a straight majority. So just wanted to clarify those 2 things on the cloture vote. And it's also sometimes called the filibuster. And, you know, if you blow it up, we could end up with a state of Washington, D.C. and a state of Puerto Rico, and we could end up with something like, you know, what they want is a Democratic majority that can't be fought back on because you'd have 2 extra states that would be Democrat with 2 senators each, and then they would pack the court. Now, this is as old as time, okay? Back in the day of FDR, he talked about packing the court. And if you recall, FDR was taken to court many times about the things he was doing in the New Deal. And you can have your own opinion about what the New Deal was and how good it was or bad it was. But to say that Donald Trump is the first president that has had the kind of problems with the courts is just not accurate. So, folks, we've got to learn to work together. And, you know, the thing that Democrats are not getting right now is Donald Trump would love to work with you. He is a pragmatist at his core. Okay, you can use nasty inflection when you say MAGA Republicans, but MAGA Republicans are not that conservative, and they will work with you on issues, especially the chief MAGA, Donald Trump. We'll be back.
While technology has certainly changed the way people do business, it hasn't changed the way we treat our customers. It's Mike Cormier, and at Hardy Chevrolet, we are as committed to excellent customer service as the Hardys were when they started the business here in Gainesville over 4 decades ago. When it's time for a new or used vehicle, remember what Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Brownsbridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
It's going to get worse.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the Senate's Republican leader says about the government shutdown now in day 29. He blames it on Democrats.
They're looking at this like it's some sort of political game.
Senator John Thune also tells Fox President Trump's willing to negotiate with Democrats on health care provisions they demand be included in funding.
But not while they hold the government hostage.
That's why Democrats say the shutdown is Republicans' fault for refusing to negotiate now. And as the standoff continues without end, federal workers remain unpaid, including those who have to keep working. And as Fox's Kristen Goodwin reports, another problem is looming.
Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins telling Fox's America Reports the department doesn't have the money to continue funding the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP.
We have enough money to get us through the end of October.
More than 20 states dispute this, arguing not releasing the funds already approved by Congress violates federal law and risks roughly 41 million Americans in need going hungry ahead of the holidays.
There is a contingency fund with billions of dollars. That's the well that is supposedly dry.
That's California Attorney General Rob Bonta, part of a lawsuit trying to force those funds to be used for federal assistance. At least 3 deaths reported in Jamaica, where they keep assessing the destruction the day after Hurricane Melissa hit as one of the more powerful storms ever.
It was nerve-wracking, but I knew I had to stay strong for the family. We have 12 people here.
Peter Kong lives in the U.S. but was there visiting, wrote out the storm in a hotel, and says trees are down everywhere. And while his group is okay, he also just told Fox,
I am from here, so we still have family members in St. Elizabeth and Clarendon that we're not hearing from right now. So we're kind of worried about them.
Melissa's now hitting Cuba. The Bahamas are next for the hurricane. It's late at night where President Trump is.
We had a tremendous meeting today with South Korea.
He says they nearly finalized a big trade deal. Late tonight, American time, the president will meet with China's leader, trying to ease their high tariff trade tension. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
WDUN. From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and a Flowery Branch woman has been arrested over the weekend for concealing a death. WDUN's Hamilton Keener reports.
Hall County jail records indicate that 36-year-old Jessica Maria Moats was arrested and booked into the jail late Sunday night. That same night, GBI officials confirmed that they had been called to aid in a death investigation. The investigation involved agents searching at a home on Couch Road off of GC Crow Road in Flowery Branch late Sunday evening. Moats remains in the jail without bond as of last report.
A student and 2 drivers sustained minor injuries in a school bus collision in Rabun County Tuesday morning. More now from WDUN's William Daughtry.
According to the Georgia State Patrol, the 2-vehicle wreck happened at the intersection of Georgia 15 and Cicero Street at around 7 a.m. The vehicles were traveling in opposite directions, and the bus driver reportedly failed to yield, resulting in the crash. Both drivers and 1 student on the bus sustained minor injuries. The driver of the GMC was taken to a local hospital by EMS, while the student was taken to the same hospital by their parent. At the time, only 3 students and the driver were on the bus.
An electrical source is believed to be what triggered an accidental vacant business building fire in Lawrenceville late Monday. More from WDUN's Logan Landers.
Social media post from Gwinnett County's Fire and Emergency Services said their crews were called to the 1300 block of Pleasant Hill Road after 10:25 p.m. Monday. Upon arrival, crews discovered smoke and fire from within the vacant automotive shop. Officials needed less than 30 minutes to contain the fire, with no injuries reported. Damage was contained to the single structure, and the fire was considered accidental in nature.
And Gainesville City Council will be honoring the life and legacy of the late Danny Dunnigan with a dedication ceremony this Thursday morning during their work session. Dunnigan passed away last week at the age of 75 and was Gainesville's first elected mayor and served as a council member for several years. The work session will be at 9 a.m. at the Boathouse at Lake Lanier on Clarksbridge Road in Gainesville, with the ceremony to take place in the ballroom, with the meeting beginning immediately after. You'll find more details and more news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
North Georgia, on and off rain continues. Heavy rain possible. So between the wet roads, reduced visibility, you need extra time on your commutes. Highs around 50 degrees this afternoon with up to a ½ inch of rain possible. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
Right now in Sugar Hill, just 48 degrees. In Tallulah Falls, 43 degrees. And in Gainesville, 46. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Have you ever been at your wit's end over your community? Hi, this is Whit Martin, pastor of Asbury Chapel. There are plenty of ups and downs in a community. But as God's people, we have a command in Jeremiah 29:7 that tells us to seek the peace and prosperity of the city, to pray to God for it, because if the city prospers, then the people will prosper. I want to encourage us today to truly look for ways to be a blessing to the community. The best way is to offer the truth of Jesus Christ to any and all, so that the change He brings can transform the place we live into a place that reflects the kingdom of God. Many of us know the Lord's Prayer, praying, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." If our prayers and our efforts are aimed at God's kingdom making a difference here, what goodness and grace there can be for us all. And that is Wits End. Asbury Chapel invites you to learn more by joining us for worship on Sundays at 10 a.m. Visit asburychapel.net for more information.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Well, thanks for hosting us, and this is quite a group to get together. And I think all of the companies here are making huge investments in the country in order to build out data centers and infrastructure to power the next wave of innovation. So it's we don't often get together as the CEOs of the different companies, but it's good to see everyone.
So that's Mark Zuckerberg meeting with the president and other technology CEOs, or I don't know if he's the CEO anymore, but big guys in the technology world talking about data centers. And we wanted to have Brian Morgenstern back on to talk about data centers and some of the concerns that people have about them, so they understand a little more information about them. Brian, welcome back to the program. How are you?
I'm doing great, Martha. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so since we met last week, we, of course, in our own community, we had a big data center project that was tabled so that people could look at it a little bit more. And then over in Columbia County, which is a little bit like southeast of us, they're doing a similar thing. And what's being presented is that these data centers are going to come in. They're going to build out infrastructure at their expense. They're going to do some other things, employ some people. I think one of the criticism is doesn't employ as many people as people think they are for the amount of space they take up. And then, but the big thing is they could bring in enough revenue to actually reduce or eliminate your county taxes, your county property taxes, which is one of those things that a lot of people are talking about locally. But just, can you give us just a little primer on why data centers are important, and really what are the best questions people need to ask about them?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great setup. So data centers are important because the next generation of finance, of information, of how people search for information, answer questions, how businesses are going to progress, how people are going to learn, all of this depends on data centers and the energy that powers them. If we're going to win or if we're going to remain a superpower, we have to grow economically faster than China and our other opponents. The way we do that is we get more efficient with AI, really, and data centers. And we need this infrastructure in America if we are going to win the next sort of industrial revolution. So it's huge. It's a hugely important national priority. And then at the state and local level, as you said, this particular facility could end up really paying for people's county taxes. There are other data centers in locations where they're paying for all the emergency services in that location, police, fire, et cetera. There are others I know where they are the single largest taxpayers in the school districts, where they're really funding the local schools. So these things can bring in massive amounts of revenue and economic growth at the local level, while also helping to achieve a national priority for the United States. Now, to the second part of your question of, what should people be looking at with these things? There's typically a few issues that need to be addressed, and it's where's the electricity going to come from? How is that going to affect people's power bills, if at all? Now, a lot of times, like you said, these companies will fund the infrastructure build-outs themselves. There can still be some debate over how the power bills are going to be affected in that region, and that's something that they need to work out because the data centers need to be good neighbors. They can't be, negatively affecting the neighbors, and so that's an issue that is typically worked out in the process. Another is water. Now, a lot of data centers, they'll need water to cool the machines. Computers get very hot, something, maybe people don't think about. So you need some infrastructure to cool the machines so that they don't overheat and break, and then that can be very expensive. But there's really good technology now, these closed-loop systems where you can either have a dielectric fluid like a mineral oil, or you can have a water recycling system so that you just fill it up once and then you top it off periodically for evaporation, but you're really just recycling water. So you're not drawing much water from the community. So that's a way that they address that. There's also typical business concerns with neighbors like noise or lighting or, things that can kind of interfere with people's typical quality of life. Those are, typically get worked out pretty well, actually. And they can take steps to limit noise or lighting problems or things like that. So that's oftentimes how these things go, and these concerns from the community usually get worked out during the approval process so that the data center is going to be good for the community, it's going to be good for business, it's really going to be good for everyone, and it's going to help America achieve its economic growth goals.
Yeah, so I get the concerns that people have, especially in a community like ours where you've got a lot of people that have retired here that, that have put their life savings into their home, into this community. And so I'm glad you addressed the water part of it because we're near Lake Lanier, as you may know, and a lot of people are concerned about that. So I actually think the county commission did a good thing in tabling it so that more information can get out, because one of the biggest challenges in local government is that people don't really come to the meetings until they're mad about something, and then they don't actually voice their opinion until after you've already taken the vote. So I'm very happy in this situation that they're being proactive and they're getting as much information out as possible.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And, I'm very familiar with the area. My wife is actually from where you're broadcasting from.
Oh, great.
And so it's spent a lot of time down there, and it's a lovely place. And what I've experienced in some of our projects is you really do need to go into the community, and, the data center developers should, if they can, offer tours. They should give detailed presentations about what they're doing, and sometimes, even more importantly, what they're not doing to really dispel people's concerns and explain the benefits that they're going to bring to the community. And I think I mentioned on your show last week, to the extent possible, these developers should buy local, they should hire local, they should make sure that the prosperity that they hope to experience is shared with the people who live there. So it should be an open and honest process, and they should get buy-in from the residents. I think that is healthy. They should do it that way, and it leads to everyone being happier. There will always be some NIMBYs who just want to say no matter what. But you have to get a sort of a critical mass of residents to be comfortable with it in order for it to be a successful business project.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think there's a challenge always, we're seeing it in our traffic right now because, there's things that need to be done road-wise that the growth has kind of gotten ahead of the road building, which is not an unusual thing. And it's made it a bit of a challenge. Now, I want to just put your other hat on since we're still in the day 28 or 29 or whatever of this government shutdown. And we've got this situation where the markets are going crazy. They love what's happening with business right now. They love what President Trump is doing on these trips around the world and how he's being received by countries. The interesting thing is that tariffs have not impacted us the way we expected them to. They haven't been as negative as a lot of people expected them to be. They have turned out to be a pretty good tool to be able to get certain reactions from people and have not had a huge impact on inflation. So we're here in this where we have all these indicators that are fantastic about the economy. Gas prices are down. Grocery prices are down. Beef prices aren't, but there's improvement in a lot of areas. But yet we've got this government shutdown going on. So just your thoughts about kind of where we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, ordinary Americans haven't felt it that much yet, but we're getting to a point where, a couple of programs like SNAP, the food assistance program, healthcare premiums are coming into focus. There are a lot of government workers who, of course, are feeling the pinch because they're not getting their paycheck. So we're nearing, various inflection points that could hopefully force somebody's hand. Of course, the answer from the administration and from the Republicans in Congress is, well, we have a solution to this. The Democrats should just vote to open the government. Just keep the same position they had, 7 months ago, something like that.
Right.
And so if they would just do that, then we would avoid this manufactured crisis, because the Republicans are not going to vote for what the Democrats are asking for, of $1.5 trillion, including health care for illegal immigrants. Not going to happen. So they should, maintain the position that they had recently, and let's reopen the government and then continue to go to negotiate on these other issues. I think that that's an okay place to be. The issue is that both sides think they're winning or at least not losing, and so it's one of these inflection points that hopefully will shake the trees to get to some agreement. But, the Trump administration has done what they can to make sure people don't really feel the pain. When the Democrats were in power and there were shutdowns, they really wanted the American people to feel the pain as much as possible so that they can put more pressure on Republicans. The Trump administration is, I think, being kinder to the American people.
I think they are too. They're trying to, spread the pain around. Let's just put it that way. And it annoys a lot of my listeners and me that as I look up what the Senate schedule is for today. I haven't looked up today, but yesterday's schedule, they were having committee hearings. They voted on a couple of appointments. It was like it was business as usual, to your point about, it should be all they work on. And I personally think, I know John Thune's mindset is they're going to work regular schedule. I think they ought to force them to be in no matter what. And I don't think they should get paid. Bernie Sanders got called out on The View of all places, where he was said, why are you still getting your check? And he goes, well, there's some young members that have children and they need the money. And the woman who was filling in for Joy Behar or for Whoopi, I forget which one, says, well, there's people that are already doing without their checks. He goes, well, that's a fair point. So, and you also have had 2 unions that have come out and said, hey, it's time to end this. So hopefully they'll get to the table, maybe when the president gets back, because the dirty little secret is President Trump will negotiate. You know what I mean? One of the things my Republican friends are worried about is that if he gets around the table with Democrats and Republicans, that he will give a little because he's a negotiator. And, I'm not worried about that because I think that's what we need to do. But that's in the play too.
Well, I think the Republicans in Congress, at least their position is no.
We already
we're not
voted.
giving you anything.
Yeah, we already voted.
Yeah, and this is basically the Biden budget. So Democrats are getting a lot out of it anyway.
Yes.
So we shouldn't give any more. And it's tough because that's a pretty reasonable position too.
It is absolutely.
Maybe,
I think that when Trump gets back from this trip, President Trump gets back from this trip, I think you're going to see him do some negotiating, and we may not see it, outside. It might be behind the scenes, but I think we got to get this done here in the next week or so because I have a son that works for USDA. He's enjoyed the fact he's had a lot more time with his kids, but it's getting to the point where it may be a problem.
Yeah, well, and there are a lot of people in that situation. To your point, perhaps if Senator Thune just keeps them all in session until they pass something, these senators, you can hear or you can smell the jet fuel on the runway at Reagan Airport, when they're trying to get out of town. So if you just lock them in there, who knows? Maybe they see the light.
I worked for a U.S. senator. I worked for David Perdue in his first term, and that's where I learned that senators and congressmen can actually book themselves on multiple flights on the day they're supposed to get out of town. The rest of us can't do that, because and especially to Atlanta, there's a flight every hour. So sometimes he would be booked on 3 or 4 flights as you were waiting to get out of town. But you're right. You're absolutely right about that. But thank you so much for being with us today because the important information on data centers, we need it, Brian. Thank you so much.
You bet. Happy to do it. Nice
Thank
to
you.
talk to you. Thanks so much.
Brian Morgenstern. Lots more to come.
It's no accident that J.D. Miller is the most frequent guest on my program. This is Phil Benelli, and on the next edition of North Georgia Business Radio, J.D., Division President of Cadence Bank, and I will share more valuable stories and leadership skills. Saturday at 3 on WDUN. Always here, always local.
Waste Eliminator is a full-service waste management company, providing critical disposal, recycling, and environmental solutions for business and residential clients. From large-scale commercial projects to smaller residential cleanups, Waste Eliminator offers reliable dumpster rental service tailored to your needs. Whether you're tackling a renovation, new construction, or even a simple home cleanout, Waste Eliminator will manage the waste efficiently and sustainably. Visit online at wasteeliminator.com.
Fall is planting time in North Georgia. This is Julie from Full Bloom Nursery, and now is the perfect time to plant pansies, perennials, shrubs, and trees. Planting in the fall gives your new plants time to become established without the stress of heat and dry weather. We've got over 4 acres of plants for you to choose from, so come see us for all your fall projects. Our knowledgeable staff will help you pick out the right plant for the right spot. Be sure to like us on Facebook and visit us on the web at fullbloomnursery.com.
Hi folks, Matt Hayes here from Hayes of Baldwin. If you're in the market for a new car, truck, or SUV, take a short drive and come see what North Georgia has to offer. We have 8 brands in one location, a great selection of pre-owned and manufacturer-certified pre-owned vehicles. But that's not all. With 2 large service departments to take care of all your automotive needs, from maintenance, repairs, or just tires and checkups. Hayes offers friendly staff and excellent customer service. With over 50 years of a family-owned and operated business in North Georgia, come see what Hayes has to offer you. Hayes of Baldwin, just 3 miles north of Hall County on Highway 365.
Check your pockets and you'll find a quarter ready to inspire you to visit the state you find on the back. It's America the Great on a podcast called Quarter Miles Travel, from Virginia's historic sites to the wide-open plains of Montana, the low-country rhythms of coastal Georgia, to the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. Explore America based on the U.S. Mid-State Quarters. Hi, it's Anita with Travel with Anita and Friends. Quarter Miles Travel is all about pride. Pride in our states and our country. The natural beauty, the history, landmarks, and interesting people all make our country an exceptional place to visit. Go to my website, travelwithanita.com, where you will hear the podcast with stories told by historians and people who know the little-known facts. So come along, let's go on an adventure. Reach in your pocket and pull out that quarter. Flip it over, and Quarter Miles Travel will take it from there. We'll help you turn that quarter into an adventure.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a Range Rover vehicle of basketball legend Shaquille O'Neal is stolen with it in transit from a Lumpkin County fabrication shop. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
When you look at what Trump is doing as president, in a way, he's challenging capitalism. He's putting tariffs on countries indiscriminately, just because he wants to, making the case that he's doing it for Americans. He is taking government stakes in private companies. That's a Bernie Sanders idea, by the way. He is creating a government website where people can shop around for prescription drugs, another Bernie Sanders idea. So his willingness to just take some of these ideas that Democrats have been talking about and just do them, no matter how controversial they are, has been one of the things that, whether you like him or not, what people will say about Trump is that he does what he says. And I think that Democrats, one of the big problems that they have is that voters don't think they're going to do what they say.
That's a fact.
They say all the right things, but they don't think they're going to do what they say. And so whether it's challenging, you can call it challenging capitalism or challenging whatever, voters want to know that you're willing to buck the system for them.
So that's Abby Phillip from CNN, and Scott Jennings is famously on her show. She was there with the Breakfast Club guys, and very interesting commentary from her, talking about what a lot of us have talked about, is that Donald Trump is a populist in many ways. He is a Republican by convenience, but he has also, remade the Republican Party. Okay, and I think it's a better party in that it's more representative of the average person. It is more representative of the working class person, and he has made, in this shutdown especially, he has tried as hard as he can to be able to make it as painless as possible. Now, maybe that's created cover for the Senate to act the way they're acting. Look, I'm not saying this is a Democrat or a Republican statement. I'm saying that the Senate should be solely focused on getting the government open again. And that should be, and this is what I think they're doing right now, going to the 6 United States senators that are in states that President Trump won only a year ago and making sure that they vote the right way and they do it soon. Now, I don't think it's happening fast enough for most of us. I'm taking a trip on Saturday, and I'm having to connect through Newark. Newark is one of the worst places as far as air traffic controllers are concerned. I'm fully prepared that maybe my trip's going to be canceled if things aren't straightened out by the end of the week. But we've got to make sure that we are not forcing the people who should not be hurt, because and I'm speaking really to these Democrats, these 6 Democrats that are in states that Donald Trump won. And I've given you the list a bunch of times, and we'll give it again one more time before we leave the program so that you know who are the people that you need to be letting know they need to change their vote. Let's go to the phones now and talk to Jack in Gainesville. Hey, Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing all right for an old man, Martha.
Well, good.
Anyway, you was talking about the worst thing that the government did when you was talking about the politicians. I think there's 2 things worse than that. First one is when they started giving people something for nothing. We're now on the 4th generation welfare. When I was growing up, we didn't have running water, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have an indoor toilet. My dad died 6 days after my 13th birthday, and he never learned to read or write. He signed his name with an X. Now, there's not too many people alive today that can remember a day like that. But I carried a golf bag, 18 holes for $1.90. I mowed a 2-acre yard, pushing a lawnmower for $3. But we made it. You know, we didn't get a free house. We didn't get free food. We didn't get free TVs.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think that, Jack, we're up against a hard break here, but I get your point. Yeah, we need to teach people how to work again. And there is opportunity if you're willing to work. We'll be back.
At M&R Rental and Equipment, we're not just about renting out top-notch tools and machinery. We're also your trusted partner for all your equipment maintenance needs. From small power tools to large heavy-duty machinery, our team of certified professionals are trained to keep them in peak condition. And with our affordable maintenance packages, you can focus on what you do best, creating, building, and achieving. Visit mnrrental.com for more information. M&R Rental and Equipment, building your projects, supporting your success.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
Tune in to 2 hours of local football fun with the Pick'em Show, coach interviews, game previews, and general mayhem. So join Bo, Caleb, Jeff, and Walker Thursday nights at 6 on AM 550 and FM 102.9, or video stream them on YouTube at Access WDUN Sports. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. About 42 million Americans need help feeding their families, could be left out in the cold this weekend.
The Democrats have caused the problem on food stamps.
President Trump on board Air Force One, adding the fix is simple.
All they have to do is sign. And, they sign, I'll meet with them.
Fox's Chad Pergram.
Democrats are blasting the administration for not tapping special funds to cover SNAP benefits. However, the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, says her department does not have access to that money. Federal workers are now going to food kitchens in Washington, D.C.
The big meeting tomorrow in South Korea between President Trump and China's leader Xi Jinping on the table, tariffs, trade, and the fight against fentanyl. Hurricane Melissa battering Cuba at this hour, winds reaching 105 miles an hour, and the flooding rain is over for Jamaica. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A Sugar Hill man facing multiple charges, including felony attempt to commit aggravated assault after he allegedly banged on a door of a Hall County home with a rifle over the weekend. Sheriff's office says 36-year-old Johan Choi banged on the door of the victim's home on the 1000 block of Cooley Drive several times between 2 and 3 a.m. Sunday.
Mr. Choi then left in the car, as I said, and deputies, after speaking with the occupants of the home, put out a law enforcement be on the lookout, or BOLO, for Mr. Choi in the car. Flowery Branch police officers were able to locate Mr. Choi.
That was Hall County Sheriff's Office spokesman Derek Booth. Choi was arrested and posted a bond of just under $11,000 and was released Tuesday. Shaquille O'Neal reportedly had his vehicle stolen in Lumpkin County. According to the sheriff, Stacy Gerard, vehicle was in Lumpkin County at a fabrication shop and was stolen as it was in transit afterwards.
The investigator working the case has taken 10 more search warrants. These search warrants are to try to identify information to get us to a person of interest.
The photo posted by authorities indicates that the vehicle is a Range Rover. Anyone with lead should contact Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office. More details at Access WDUN. Now, here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
North Georgia, on and off rain continues. Heavy rain possible. So between the wet roads, reduced visibility, you need extra time on your commutes. Highs around 50 degrees this afternoon with up to a half inch of rain possible. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
Right now in Brazelton, 48 degrees, Commerce 47, and in Gainesville, 46. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Should you make your trust the beneficiary of your IRA? So many say you shouldn't, but we say you should. This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and if you want your IRA to be protected for your surviving spouse, children, or family, then you should leave it to them at your death through a trust. For more information, go to my website, KevinTharp.com.
The weather has changed, and here come the leaves. Get ahead of the work with Stihl's backpack and handheld blowers. They make the fall cleanup quick. If you need a handheld blower with those small spaces, a backpack blower for bigger jobs, or a powerful professional model to really make those leaves fly, Stihl's got it all. Find your next Stihl product at Howard Brothers. Their friendly team can help find the perfect Stihl blower to keep those pesky leaves out of your way. The grass is always greener when you take care of it with Stihl and Howard Brothers.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
I think my question is this. I take your point about these millions of people. The cost of living is incredibly high. but also Republicans control the White House, they control the Senate, they control the House. And in the past, Democrats, when Republicans have tried to do something like this, Democrats have argued that the norms of our government should be that you negotiate policy outside of a government shutdown. I mean, I have over many years covering Washington, people have said that over and over and over again. And now I have neighbors in the D.C. area who are both employed by the federal government who are having to use food banks. We are heading into Thanksgiving. Why is it suddenly right to do it this way and to do it for this long when it didn't used to be the right way in Democrats' view?
Oh, that's an easy answer. It's Donald Trump. You're talking about norms in the time of Donald Trump. It's also normal not for you to tear
Democrats
down
have
the
spent
East
so much
Wing,
time
and he suddenly
arguing
did
about
it.
how maintaining those norms is actually incredibly important in the face of
It's all
Donald
out the
Trump.
window. It's all out the window, Casey. No, when you're dealing in the time with Donald Trump, this is the man that is like extorting people. He's literally, breaking every rule.
So it's the Martha Zoller Show, and that was Ruben Gallego being asked by Casey Hunt about, you've been talking about norms, and then his answer is Donald Trump breaks all the norms. And I think she did a good job pushing back, actually, and saying, wait a minute, you guys have been saying maintaining norms is important. So I thought it was interesting. Bill Crane is joining me today. I mean, Bill, we've had a couple of big Democratic unions come out and say, hey, it's time to end this shutdown. You've had a lot of other groups starting to come forward and say the same thing. I don't see any movement. Now, John Thune says that he is working directly with this group of 6 senators that are in states that Donald Trump won only a year ago. But a lot of people in my listening audience don't like the fact that they're still having hearings and committees and all this stuff, but they're not dealing with these issues.
And they're getting paid.
Yeah, and they're getting paid.
I would say if those labor unions who are very critical both in terms of financing and voter turnout start saying to the Democratic leaders they're trying to reach, we will withhold midterm contributions, they might get a quicker answer.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be the leverage point I would exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started bringing it back closer to home. We started seeing some improvement in early voting in some of the counties that we need to see improvement in. I admit my bias here. I want Fitz Johnson and Tim Echols to be reelected, or Fitz to be elected, Tim to be reelected. But it's going to be a tough one, I think, because of the way the turnout looks.
I agree, based on the fact that there are some heavily contested mayoral races, city council races, and local school board contests in urban areas, places like Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, cities around me, Tucker, Sandy Springs, Stone Mountain, Stonecrest, all have hot mayor's races, and those tend to be more of a Democratic stronghold. So the turnout's heavier there, and they're probably not going to cross over and vote for the Republican, particularly in the Democratic Party has spent a good bit of money for a public service commission race on direct mail and internet ads. I get everybody's, and I've been interested in the bombardment.
Yeah.
I think unless there's a late flow, or as often happens with GOP voters, they wait until the day, they wait until election day. It does not look good at this moment for either of the two public service commission candidates on the GOP side.
Yeah, it does look like at this point last week, Hall County was in the bottom 3 of turnout, like 0.9%. That has improved dramatically. We are the area that they got to win. I mean, we not just Hall County, but this whole Northeast Georgia area, because that's roughly from about, North Gwinnett north is about 60% of Republican primary voters. So
particularly Cherokee Hall and Forsyth.
Yes, particularly Cherokee Hall, Forsyth, Banks, Jackson, but the big population centers are Cherokee Hall and Forsyth. So we're working on getting that turnout out, but I think it's just so hard. Public Service Commission is just not a sexy position to talk about. It should be, because it has to do with your energy prices and that kind of thing. But it is interesting, the money they have spent. Now, in Atlanta, you don't have the mayor's race. I mean, you do, but he doesn't really have any opposition. But you do have this president of the city council race, which is drawing some people out.
And half the school board's up.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Those are contested, and then these newer cities, these what I call suburb cities, city lights, in several cases have incumbent mayor who's been in office 2, 3, 4 terms, and there's a little bit of disgruntled voter out there that are actually getting active and activated. And so some of them who looked bulletproof a term ago are vulnerable, and it will be interesting to see how that plays out. But I was in Channel 2 last night, and they were saying, well, we're not sure we're going to do much more than cut-ins on election night. So the lack of interest
yes,
in this election is near universal.
So on Friday,
unfortunate and wrong, but universal.
On Friday, Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock did vote for cloture related to the federal government funding, not the whole bill, but I think funding the employees. And but they didn't vote for the final bill. They voted for cloture. I think we got to get to the point where in the old days, when even if you were going to vote no, you voted for cloture, you voted to let the bill go and be voted on. Because the truth of the matter is, Bill, we've had enough votes to keep the government open since September 30th. It's just getting to that final vote has been the problem.
And I know there are many who say, remove in cloture, vote out that Senate rule. But I caution when the party majority flips, you won't like that.
Yes.
And going back to Harry Reid ending the 60-vote majority required for confirming federal judges, which later led to confirming Supreme Court justices, it's a very significant shift. And I like the role of the U.S. Senate as the brakes. There are many times in this nation when knee-jerk reaction flies to the U.S. House of Representatives, and we have a bill, and I think back to 9/11 and some of the bills we got that I still kind of have pause about in terms of giving up some of our liberties so that we'd be able to more closely monitor the actions of individual Americans, some of which are bad actors, many of which are not. We need, when we make more serious changes, to have that pause and reflective time, and I think oftentimes the Senate is the only brakes there that fulfill that function.
So with that, let's talk a little bit about the Georgia Senate race. Some new polling came out, and you saw what you might expect to see. Mike Collins is still in the lead. Buddy Carter and Derek Dooley are now tied, and there's about 35% that are undecided. So it's still very early, but you're seeing that Dooley went from 8 to 16%, which, he is spending money. He is getting out there. What are your thoughts on that race?
And Derek Dooley is a very significant wingman. He has point-to-point, place-to-place all over the state. A very popular incumbent governor who made clear from the beginning he recruited Derek Dooley, that Derek Dooley is his choice. So they're making UGA tailgates. They're traveling to large and small Republican counties and, the party apparatus and saying this is the guy and here's why. And that's a demonstration of where, particularly in the early stages, endorsements can and do matter. I still think with 35% undecided, the race could go any way. But I believe Donald Trump will weigh in well before this is over. And I don't think his pick will be Derek Dooley. The word out of the White House is they don't think Coach Dooley has what it takes to win or to serve in the U.S. Senate. They want to flip that seat. I think it still looks better and better at this point for Senator Ossoff's reelection, just because Senate incumbents have about a 96% return rate, absent major scandal or single issue that voters can easily understand, identify, and unify behind.
Well, I have been sort of trolling my good friend John Ossoff about how I would really love to see Representative Roman drop out of the governor's race and primary him, just to see how far left he will go if that happens. But it would be fun to do that. And over the week,
responded on that?
No, he has not. I've texted him directly too. I mean, he hasn't. I mean, Jake reached out. Jake is his press secretary. Reached out to let me know that they had voted for cloture on Friday, and that sort of thing. But no, he has not responded. I'm doing it in good humor, Bill, though, because I think it would be fun.
I've always enjoyed that about you. You ask those kind of questions.
Well, I would first of all, I'm a firm believer in primary opposition. Okay, even though I lost, okay, I still stand by the idea you're a better candidate if you have a primary opponent.
Better message.
Ultimately, yes. I think it's better in the long run. You don't want to kill your other opponent, because then the other party's going to use those arguments against you when you get to the general. But I still think it's a good thing, and it keeps you honest to have a primary opponent. But finally, you mentioned Trump endorsement in the Senate race. Over the weekend, the president quietly endorsed Andrew Clyde in the 9th District over Sam Kuvion, who's the mayor, and Greg Poole's running, who is the county commissioner. Now, that's interesting because this is a district Republicans are going to win no matter what. Okay, they're going to win this district no matter what.
And back to the points you were making preceding me, or your guests are making about him not following norms. The president and particularly his chief of staff have said this election cycle, he's not going to get granular in every state race, and he's not going to get granular in every congressional seat, blah, 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 blah. But Donald Trump will be Donald Trump. And so a place like Hall County that matters to the GOP, particularly in presidential elections. And if that turnout is not heavy in those three counties we mentioned a moment ago, Hall, Forsyth, and Cherokee, and by heavy I mean 60% turnout, it's difficult for GOP to carry the state. So I do think he'll, in other congressional races outstate, there aren't that many with significant challenges. And the Senate race, I would think not much after the first of the year, we will know his preferences.
Absolutely. Bill Crane, what are you writing about this week?
We lost a family member, a cat, this past weekend, and into Monday she had to take that long nap and go home. It's my daughter's calico cat, Chloe, and I talk about how important animals are and the difficulty of saying goodbye. And even a cat that was in our life for a short period of time that we became attached to, who a coyote got hold of, and there was no opportunity to say goodbye.
You're right about that, in that I do a little podcast for fun called TMI with Terrell and Martha. It's a wellness podcast. Terrell is the expert on the wellness stuff, Terrell Worcester, but we just did an episode on grief relating to your pets and how you should handle that, and it's going to be coming out soon. So I think it's an important thing. It's funny, I had a bunch of slides digitized recently, and I gotta say, they're not paying me to say this, but I used to use Legacy Box, but it got so expensive that I tried this new company called
it was such a bargain 10 years ago, and it's like tripled. It's like all the streaming services. Send me the link.
Absolutely. So iMemories is the company I found, and they're like a third of the price of Legacy Box, and so I got all my old family slides. Slides or something. If you don't know what a slide is, folks, ask your grandparents.
No, we have slides. Dad has
I know, but there are young people that don't know what slides are. But anyway, I had them all digitized, and there were some great pictures of me and my dog Gypsy, who was the dog we had from the time I was 3 till I was 18, and it was great to see her in living color. So it was great.
And healthy.
And healthy. That's right. Sleeping with me in my pin curls. It must have been a Saturday night because my mother used to put my hair up in pin curls on Saturday night so it would look nice for church. So those were the days.
Young people who don't know what those are either.
That's right. All right, Bill Crane, thanks for being with us. We'll talk more. Lots more to come.
Fuel our discussions with your opinions.
We need to talk about common sense here.
We're the station that gives you a voice.
It's my local station.
We're North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Whether it's a slip that ends in a slip disc, a trick knee that's holding you back, or shoulder pain hurting your game, you can count on Northside Hospital Orthopedics. With leading care in Georgia at convenient locations all across the state, we're here to get you back on your feet, no matter what comes your way. Because Georgia moves us, and we keep Georgia moving. Find a provider near you at northside.com/ortho. That's northside.com/ORTHO.
Aren't you glad that cooler weather and the fall planting season is here? This is Kelly, and Full Bloom Nursery is stocking up on beautiful mums and fall annuals. Plus, we're fully stocked with 4 acres of perennial shrubs and trees. Since 2003, Full Bloom Nursery has been helping customers all over North Georgia. To get started on your projects, give us a call at 678-616-3035. Visit fullbloomnursery.com for more info, and be sure to like us on Facebook to see what's growing.
Hey folks, Todd Starnes here. When it comes to keeping pests out of your home, Mark Turner at Select Pest Control has it figured out. As the name implies, you get to select whether you want their professional team to take care of those pesky pests, or if you'd rather do it yourself, visit their retail store on Brownsbridge Road in Gainesville. Since 1993, Mark and his great staff have offered professional service, products, and advice to North Georgia. Visit them online at selectpest.net, or better yet, stop by Select Pest Control today and tell them Todd sent you.
Cold weather will be here before you know it. At the same time, power outages are on the rise. So here's an important question. If the power goes out when it's really cold, do you have a way to stay warm? If not, you've got to check out the Vesta off-grid space heater from My Patriot Supply. It's a compact, portable space heater that doesn't use electricity. It runs on something called canned heat, which is an indoor safe fuel. It's completely off-grid, and it can heat up a 200 square foot room in a matter of minutes. With a Vesta stashed in your closet, you can rest easy, knowing you and your family will stay warm, even if the power goes out. Plus, it doubles as a stove to boil water or cook food without electricity or propane. The best part is, you can get a Vesta and a bunch of other free gifts when you order the Winter Prep Special from My Patriot Supply. Just go to mypatriotsupply.com to see everything included. This offer won't last long, and neither will this nice fall weather, so go to mypatriotsupply.com today. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, a Flowery Branch woman charged by the GBI for allegedly concealing a dead body during the past weekend. Details at Access WDUN, and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
AOC going after Riley Gaines. Look, why do I talk about AOC? She could be one of the main contenders for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States. Maybe Vice President of the United States. She matters. She's got a big following. She's got big charisma. She's got a growing amount of power. And to be in a teenage trash-talking battle with Riley Gaines, saying she doesn't have a...
So I wanted to stop there because, look, you can be firm without being negative. And, I was thinking about little Otis, my man from East Hall. He listens to me, but he does not hear me. Okay? I am frustrated with all sides of this issue. Okay? But right now, you got to be fair. Right now, I said at the top of the show, a problem there is at Homeland Security. I'm probably the only conservative outlet other than Morning Wire, which is where I got the story from, and they're a great conservative outlet. I talked about the fact there's a problem at Homeland Security, and there's a problem between Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem, and I gave my opinion about what should happen. That was a criticism of my own party on how they're doing things and what they should do to fix it. I also talked today about the fact there's two unions that have come out against Democrats and Republicans. But again, they muffled their criticism of Republicans because the Republicans have voted to open the government. The people that have voted no are the Democrats. Now, I know, and Brendan Buck, I was glad to have him on because he has some concerns about doing it this way, and we've got to get this situation handled with these premiums. And really, what the Democrats seem to be doing. Okay, if you think I'm wrong, you can tell me. They wanted to go through the No Kings rally because they didn't want to stop, refund the government because they didn't want to hurt this PR stunt they were doing. Now they want to go through at least November 1st so people can see how high the premiums are going to be and maybe worry about whether they can pay them or not. I just don't think that's taking care of your constituents. You should avoid those kinds of things, not encourage those kinds of things if you're representing people. And it does go to Jack. I know we were up against a hard break, Jack, but your point was that things were different and better in a lot of ways when people had to get through things on their own. The big difference between the crash in 2008 and the crash in 1929 is that, yes, people were busted in 1929, but there was very little debt. So it was easier for people to start over again because if you're starting over from zero, it's different than if you're starting over from negative $250,000 because you reneged on your mortgage. So in 2008, the problem was that fewer people actually were busted by that than by the Depression, but it took them longer to build their way out of it because they had debt. We have debt for everything. I don't have debt anymore, but I had debt for a long time, and I had debt in 2008. So, I am a firm believer in people having as little debt as they can get away with. I think a mortgage is fine, but I think that if you are not able to pay off your credit cards every month, you need to think about what you're doing. Now, I have many times done a plan, like if I'm buying furniture. Now I pay cash for my furniture, but when I used to have to buy furniture on credit, I would do it on what was called a 3-pay, where I would split it up into 3 payments, and if I couldn't do that and afford to do that, I didn't buy it. So yeah, I used credit for that. But I think that we've got a lot of challenges out there. And Otis, I want to say to you, I'm not totally anti-Democrat. What I don't like is the far left progressives, and I know you love the Democrats no matter what. You're not going to ever say anything negative, but I've shown in this program that I say negative things about my Republicans. But you cannot. I know you're a God-fearing man who worked hard in your union job and who loves UPS, and that's where you retired from and all that. You can't be in favor for free rent and free grocery stores and free this and free that. You've got to know, working in your life, that you earned money so that you could pay for things, and you felt good when you were able to provide those things for your family. You tear down people when you do more than a stopgap kind of thing to help them. Everybody needs a little bit of help. That's why churches need to be more involved. My church, once a month, we take up an extra donation called Samaritan's Fund. And that's where we do, in addition to a lot of other work we do, but it's a special little cash fund that we use when people just walk into our church that maybe aren't a part of our programs, but walk into our church with a need or a problem. And we can help them get through a stopgap measure of a couple of months of power bills or a doctor's visit or something like that. And folks, this is why we need God. This is why we need faith. This is why we need churches that do this kind of work. Because you're always going to get snookered if it's the government doing everything, because there's so many layers between you and that governmental agency. Look, I hope you guys are following us on YouTube. I hope you're listening to us in your car, but if you're at home during the time of day that we're on, I hope you're following us on YouTube on Access WDUN. I'm learning how not to use my hands in a way that makes the camera zoom in, but I will get there. But we love that you're a part of this community and that you let us be a part of your life. And you know what? Whether it's Otis giving me a hard time or Joe telling me how great things are, every single bit of it is important because we are in this community and we're always